What's up, everybody? Eric here with another EWE Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Episode 3. Before we get into that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you want me to review next. But yeah, this is another episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. Sorry I wasn't able to get this out on Monday, had a really busy weekend, so tried to get it done as soon as I could. So this is Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, this is on Paramount Plus, and the name of this episode is In the Cradle of Vexilon. When we get to the plot, I'll say who Vexilon is, and this episode aired on September 14, 2023. The director is Brandon Williams, and it's written by Ben Waller. The cast includes Tawny Newsome, Jack Quaid, Noel Wells, Eugene Cordero, Don Lewis, Jerry O'Connell, Fred Tassasori, Gillian Vigman. That's the main cast for the show, and episode 3 was 24 minutes long. So the plot of this episode is pretty interesting. So Boimler's going to lead his first away mission. He has to do something with these power generation. They're trying to change something for a station that's run by a computer, an AI. Now, Vexilon. Now, this is a weird one. Vexilon's actually a good AI. I'm not sure if we've had a good one so far on the show. We've had a couple bad ones, but here we have a good one, and he's actually really good to the people. So that was a really big mix. So let's move now on to and the rest of the crew. So T'Lin's with Boimler. Tendi, Rutherford, and Mariner are on board the ship, and they end up having to do some fun little activities that go way too crazy, but I loved it. Alright, so let's move on to my spoiler-free thoughts, guys. So let's start off with the good today. So Boimler leading a mission was pretty interesting. I did not expect him to pair him with T'Lin, but the combo actually works really well. I definitely want to see more of this. I actually want to see T'Lin paired off with everybody. I can already tell her and Tendi are probably going to be like a good one to have because they're both science officers, but seeing her with the rest of the team, I actually want to see each one have their own like missions together. I think that'd be really cool. And everything that happened on the Cerritos, so with Tendi, Rutherford, and Mariner, it had me laughing. I thought that was like, okay, this is the type of stuff I would see them getting into. It's really messed up, but really funny at the same time. And going along with that, they actually had some good old Star Trek callbacks in this episode, which I was just like, you know what? You guys knew what you were doing. You knew how you were going to put all this stuff together, and good for you. Now, one thing I will say is this episode does bring up the topic of hazing a little bit, but they kind of just laugh it off, and I was just like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to do this in an episode. But it worked. It wasn't to like a crazy extent like you would think in other stuff. But it worked. I thought it was really fun here. And there was this weird stat that they kept mentioning. I'm not going to say because it's a spoiler-free section. However, when you actually started thinking about it, it's like, oh, this actually makes really good sense. And the way that they used it was just great. We'll talk about that in the spoiler section. The bad. I didn't like that Freeman had done something where it was just like, wait, but Jack did something very similar in Season 3 with Mariner. And it felt like it was too much around those same lines. And you think, wouldn't she have learned from? Even Jack mentioned something. It was just like, I'm not sure. And another thing I didn't like is that even though T'Lin and Boimler were paired together, and I liked their pairing, the Boimler story took too long, in my opinion, for it to actually like, oh, this actually makes sense in Star Trek. I felt like there was a good part of it where I was like, this doesn't really make any sense. Even for the absurd stuff you're trying to do, like, it doesn't work. And even with T'Lin's character, what we learn about efficiency and how she cares about things, she wouldn't have let it go on that long if I'm reading the character as well as I think I'm reading it. And the last one, there was no Moopsie, and I wanted a Moopsie again, because damn, that character was so cool. We get another one later in the season. So let's now move on to my score, guys. I'm actually going to give this a 7 out of 10 for good. I wish I could give it more, but there was just things about it that I just wasn't as into. It's not like it was a bad episode or anything. I even said it's good. I was going to go with okay, but then I watched it again, and I was like, I'm being a little too hard on the Boimler story because it didn't work for me, which I'm kind of finding weird because I think this is the second week in a row I want to say that the Boimler story didn't work for me. So I'm hoping it's just me not liking as much. Like, they have stuff there, but it went too long in my opinion for it to like really work, especially being with T'Lin, with the type of character that they're trying to portray her. But yeah, I recommend people go watch this as a normal Star Trek episode where I think a lot of people are going to like it. So yeah, guys, if you're not going to join us for the spoiler section, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel and comment down below what you thought. For those of you that are going with me to the spoiler section, let me give you a warning. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright guys, welcome into the spoiler section. We're going to talk about the entire plot of the episode, going bit by bit. So when we start off the episode, I will admit, this is really cool. We basically see a halo ring. It's not really that, it's from another book, if I remember correctly. But it's the same idea. This is like a halo ring, like a civilization's living on it. They can change the atmosphere and things like that. This is all being done by the computer Vexilon. But Vexilon needs to be fixed, so this is where we have Freeman and Jack show up. And this is the thing that happens, is that Carol wants to fix it on her own. But even Jack mentions, hey, but we have engineers. And it's kind of like, I get why she's trying to do it. But if she would have read Jack's reports, I think even Jack would have had there what happened with Mariner of they didn't have the engineers there. And it was a job for engineers. Engineers would have done it good. We'll eventually come back to that. So same on this ring. Boimler's now leading the mission as well. He's being, Talin's with him. He's leading it. And there's like 3 other ensigns there. Now, this was kind of cool, but at the same time, like I said before, some of the stuff didn't work here, but at least he got to get his own team. Now, the rest of everyone's on the Cerritos. So we got Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford, and they go into the anomaly room. Now, I like the idea of this anomaly room being there, but I'll also say this thing I would have thought would have been like under higher check, not just lieutenant, junior grade. I would have thought like, oh no, this is for like the high ranking 3 pit people at least. So in that aspect, it didn't fully work for me, but it was still cool to see. I thought the visual was awesome. And we got a bunch of callbacks from like Next Generation in there, in my opinion. All right, I haven't checked everything. I'm pretty sure that's Next Generation stuff that was in there. Including we're going to see some of them in a little bit. Okay, so now they end up having to go to this room where this other commander was, I think he had 3 pips. He tells them that they need to scan all the chips in this room. Actually, he had 2 pips. I can't remember his name. And they had to scan all these chips to find the malfunctioning one. They kind of wrote off the reason why the malfunctioning one, they can't find it. There was like a problem with their scanner, and it was off by just enough where like they could detect the problem, but then that thing ended up not working, and they need to get it off. And there's something funny with there. So what ends up happening is that they have to scan all these chips, and Tendi's convinced that they're being hazed. She's like, this seems so dumb for them to be doing this to us. This is like ensign level stuff. And it just seemed like there would be an easier way to do this. And I'm even thinking with her, I'm like, I think she's right, but at the same time, why would they be hazing them? So here we move on to going back to Carol on the planet. She makes a mistake, and it looks like the computer's doing something else. And then Boimler, when his crew is supposed to do something, and remember, Carol and Boimler are both on the ring, but not the exact same location. They're each doing their own parts. But yeah, Carol makes a mistake, and then it looks like the computer's rebooting. Now with Boimler, he sees his ensigns doing the thing of trying to like change out these power things, but he gets so nervous when he starts to freak out. And instead of just helping them tell them what to do, he ends up doing it himself. And this is a 3-person job, and I almost cursed. The Mother Hubbard basically does it himself, and he even uses his mouth, and I'm just like, okay, Boimler, that was weird. But he ends up doing it himself. He's not really letting his ensigns do anything. Let's go back to Cerritos for a second, and Tendi and group think like, oh, we scanned all the chips, we didn't find the malfunctioning one. That guy comes back and he tells them, you scanned all of them. And it turns out, no, there was a second layer. And you can tell at this point, Tendi's just pissed off. She's just like, oh, come on. They see the second layer, Tendi's freaking out. So they have to scan these. We finally go back to the planet, and Carol's finally realizing, okay, let's call an engineer. They call Billups, and Billups basically gives them an idea of what might be going on. Carol then moves along with that, so that helps them move that. All right, so what ends up happening is Carol ends up telling Boimler he needs to put them all back. And he's going to try and do it himself, but not a greatest idea. Now, back on the Cerritos, the hazers decide now they are going to do the hazing, which is hilarious. They end up like putting stuff in his room, like to trap him in this box that's like, it's a game. And they're going to put him in there with a green, I can't remember, Bazoid greeting chamber pot thing. The thing is, it's basically an object, but it talks to you. It sucks. You can tell none of them like it. So they're gonna trap this guy in there. But then as they are going out of his room and they run into him, they tell him, "Oh, we checked all this stuff." He ends up telling this sob story of like, "Oh, I couldn't do it because of the stuff that happened to me." And it gives them this sob story, and then Mariner's basically talking to them, and she tells the other two, go fix it, because she's just like, guys, what the hell are we doing? So Rutherford goes to take the stuff out of his room, and Tendi goes to scan all the chips. So before we get to them doing all this stuff, Boimler then he realizes he needs his team's help, and T'Lyn gives him a nice speech about he should be the one leading because he's doubting himself. He's like, last week I was an ensign just like them. And T'Lyn tells him, I've read your report. He was right to promote you. You are ready for this. So now he has his team actually helping him. They put everything back. That's awesome. So before we get to everything there, Tendi's now scanning all the chips. Rutherford is going to take the trap out, but he accidentally falls for the trap. He ends up having to do a speed run to get out of the game. Tendi is able to find the broken chip. And as Rutherford's leaving the room, the guy and Mariner are outside the room. Luckily, the guy's turned his back to Rutherford, so he doesn't see him. And luckily, they get away with everything. Boimler's team succeeds in getting everything out, like they do everything. However, as Carol's finishing her part, she tells Boimler, hey, I need you to give me a little bit of time. And Boimler tells all his ensigns to get out because it looks like the reactor room's overheating and might blow up. So Boimler goes over there to turn off the emergency shutoff. They're already out, and by the time Carol tells them push the button, you see an explosion, and Boimler dies. Yeah, you heard that right. Boimler dies, and I'm just like, what the hell? And T'Lyn mentions that I told you guys they were talking about a stat about the lieutenant junior grade, how a lot of them their mortality rate for their first mission, and Boimler ends up being added to that statistic. Now this is weird, right? But then you see Boimler in like that same area that Shax, when he mentioned when he was dead. Boimler's there too. I can't remember if Shax mentioned the qual, but he did mention the mountain. And Boimler's there, and luckily T'Ana is able to revive Boimler. And they have like this weird thing where Jack and you never forget your first death, and it's like, wait, how often do you guys die? And just thinking about like Star Trek, it's like, I mean, stuff does happen to them a lot, but I'm like, do they straight up die? I'm like, I don't feel like that happens that often in the shows I've seen. But when I think about it, it's like, but a good amount of people have died, so okay. But yeah, Boimler's revived and all that. He ends up dying again, but T'Ana's able to revive him again. I'm not sure if he actually died, but whatever. Now, moving on to the rest of the team minus Boimler's on the Cerritos. Boimler's like, I think in sick bay or something like that. And they're saying, oh, why did we think that we were being hazed? And they go to Ransom and the other commander, and they basically, no, they were hazing them the entire time. It was hazing. They probably had another way of doing stuff, but they had fun hazing. It was just like, wow, I can't believe the hazing stuff turned out to be true. But I ended up loving this episode, guys. Like, I thought the hazing stuff was really funny. I'm surprised Star Trek went that way with, like, how things are in culture now. I was like, oh, you guys actually went with hazing? But all right. But it worked for me. Like I said, I gave the episode a 7 out of 10. I can't wait to see what they do this week. And I just wanted to get this episode out as soon as possible because I need to do the Ahsoka one tomorrow. So it was get this out along with the movie review. So thank you for watching. Please let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments down below. Are you liking the season of Lower Decks? I'm liking it right now. Luckily, nothing's been bad to me so far. I'm hoping they keep this going. I did notice they didn't have anything for the season-long arc. So I'm wondering if we're going to see that in episode 4. But yeah, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day.